right, hello, and welcome to yesterlore. Today, we are going to be reading an old French poem about a werewolf. And it's a very interesting poem. I find it very fun. It is called bisclavret. Or bisclavret. People pronounce it differently. Bisclavret. Bisclavret. It has a lot of different pronunciations, depending on what era of French and what dialect of that era you're going for. So what we're going to do today is we have this display here. This display is from, well, it's dark mode. It's a dark mode extension. This is not what the web page actually looks like. But I am using a website called Mad Beppo, and I can actually link it. I'll go ahead and link this in the chat for you to follow along with if you're actually here on Twitch today. If you're on YouTube, it linked in the description of the video. And it's a great website. The translation is done by the person who runs this website themselves. It's a great just sort of French reading, learning website. But there are also some cool old French pieces of writing here. This is not the only one that they have for old French, but it's a fun story. It is one of many Breton lays that it was adapted by Marie de France. Marie de France was a francophone writer from the Middle Ages. I'm forgetting the years that she was alive. Foggy brain. I've actually been sick, if you can't tell from my voice. I'm starting to get a bit better. But she lived in England, but at least for the part of her life when she was writing, but she was probably from France, or at least spoke French. And she adapted many Breton lays, as we'll see her describe here at the beginning. And we saw some Middle English Breton lays last year when we were reading Arthurian stuff. And this is an interesting one because the title seems to be a corruption of a Breton word that means like wolf shape, wolf form, rather than werewolf in the sense of like man wolf. Garwaf might come from werewolf, or the same root as werewolf, but in Frankish rather than English. Garwaf or Garwolf, you'll see, is sort of like the French term being used, whereas bisclavret, if you are familiar with Welsh, which is related to Breton, you know that the word for wolf is blaidd. In Old Welsh, that would be, or Middle Welsh, that would be blaidd, blaidd or blades, and that's the first part of this word. Bisclavret, you can see the letters have kind of been moved around a little bit in the Frenchification of this lay. We don't have the original Breton lay, but Marie de France says that it was originally from Breton, and I tend to believe her because the name seems to come from a garbled Breton version. And she says the Normans call it Garwaf. It's possible that Garwaf is actually, when she says Norman, she might be saying that there's Norse influence, and it might actually be something like a Vargulv or something like that. Varg or Warg, being wolf in Old Norse, and Ulgr also being being wolf. But what's interesting is werewolf in this medieval sense isn't quite the same as a lot of werewolves that we imagine now, other than maybe Twilight, where they just turn into wolves. I mean, they're big wolves in Twilight, but they're wolves. Whereas a lot of our sort of Halloween werewolves are sort of like anthropomorphized, half wolf, half human kind of forms, sort of monstrous. Werewolf just means wolf, like you're turning from a human to a wolf, straight up. Now there's some art on this website that draws the wolf pretty big, so maybe it's an extra big wolf, but it just kind of seems like it's a wolf that they're turning into. That's what werewolf usually means in Middle English poetry and Middle English literature, and also this would be Old French. Old French literature kind of has the same idea here with werewolf, of just human to wolf. No special monstrous claws or anything weird like that. It's just a wolf. But this is an interesting story because of what happens. What happens in this lay is kind of weird, and not what you would expect out of a medieval poem. It's not like a courtly romance poem by any means. It's not even typical for Breton lay, I would say. Some weird stuff goes down, and the resolution is interesting as well. But there does seem to be some kind of like moral judgment going on, especially with the lady in this. She kind of becomes the villain. So there might be something to say about like moral expectations for women in the Middle Ages. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to read the Old French to the best of my ability. Given I'm sick, my pronunciation might not be the best, and I'm also out of practice with Old French, but I'm going to do my best. And the English is provided for you by Mad Beppo. So thank you, website, for translating this again. Hopefully I bring some traffic to this website, because it's a really good website just in general if you want to work on French, if you're learning modern French, or if you want to read Old French. There's stuff for both avenues there. So it's a cool website. But we're going to be reading, and I think we might be able to get through this whole poem. It's not a super long poem. And I attempted to do this a couple weeks ago, but there was lots of technical difficulties going on. I've tested stuff out. I've tested my sound and everything. It seems like everything's working okay. If you're in the chat, which I have got back up working again, yes, I'm very happy that that's the case. At least as far as I can tell, my chat seems to be working okay. Let me know if it's not. Well, I mean, if it's not, then I don't know how you would let me know. I'm going to actually make sure I open up my chat on my phone just in case. Just in case, because I don't want to miss anything. There are 2 viewers right now. Okay. Let's see. Can I... If you are in the chat, sound off, please. Because I want to see if my chat dock is working again. It was not working for quite a few weeks. And I think it's working now. But I can't quite tell. I can't get viewing the chat to quite work yet on my phone. Okay. Well, I'll keep that open just in case too, in case my dock isn't actually working the way it was supposed to be. But we're gonna get started. I'm gonna read the Old French as best I can, and we are gonna sort of pause and make sure we're understanding what's going on. You can follow along in the English if you would like to know, and read in English. If you know some French, you might be interested to kind of listen to the Old French and hear how different it sounds from modern French. So that's what we're going to do. All right. So let us begin with the sort of like the meta background that Marie de France gives us. And I think I showed a picture of her. This is Marie de France, or this is like a drawing of Marie de France writing. She's a very prolific Francophone author in the Middle Ages. Cool person to learn about. We actually don't know a ton about her, but what little we know is interesting. So definitely encourage you to try to find out more about her outside of the stream. All right, let's get started. So, quand de lais faire maître maître, ne vul oublier bisclavret. Bisclavret en nun en breton, garwaf l'appellant Lenormand. Jadis la pouet humouir, et souvent soleil à venir. Plusieurs garoual de vindre, et buscages maison tindre. Garwalf soit bête salvage, tant cum il est en celerage. Umus de vure grand malfaith, es grand furets, convers e vaith. Cette affaire les urechter del bisclavret vous vol conter. Okay, so she's going to tell us about bisclavret, and it's a Breton story in Old French. And she's sort of like contrasting the French term with the garbled version of the Breton term for werewolf. Okay, so we get our setting now. And Mad Beppo has sort of titled these sections. That was the prologue, and this is the Lord's Wife Inquires. So we've got a lord, and the wife is going to be trying to figure out what is going on here with this whole situation. All right. En Bretagne maneith un ber, merveille lai ui luer. Beus chevalers en bons erteith, en noblement se conteneith. De son seigneur erteith privats, et de tous ses voisins amets. Femut espousa, muth violent, et qui muth faisaith, beau semblant. Liamot, lié elle lui, mais d'une chose grand ennui. Qu'en la semaine la perdeith, 13 jours entiers qu'elle ne savait, ou devenait ne ou à l'autre, ne nuls de soins nient ne sauve. All right. So we've got a baron, we've got a knight, a handsome knight, and we've got a wife, a worthy wife who he loved and she loved him back. But there's some times when he like disappears for 3 days on end, and she wants to know what's up, so she's gonna try to find out. Une phase d'être repériette à sa maison joyeuse et liette. Demandez-lui à des qui. Sira, fait-elle, beus 12 amis. Une chose vous demandasse, mus volontiers si jouasse. Mais je crei tant votre curus. Que nul rien tant ne réduit. Quand il lui si la coula, vers lui la trahit si la baisa. Dame, fait-il, car demandez, cette chose ne querrez. Si je la sais, ne la vous dis. Parfait, fait-elle. Ursui garie. Sire, je suis, est-elle affray? Let's go down. Sorry. All right. Je suis est-elle affray? Les jours quand vous partez demain, elle couronne mon grand douleur, et de vous perdre tel pur. Si je n'ai hastif confort, bientôt et puis vers la mort. Car me dites où vous allez, où vous êtes, où conversez. Mon est que vous aimez. Et si siet vous me serez. All right, let's scroll down a bit. Dame, fait-il, pour Dieu merci, ma main viendra si je vous dis, car de m'amour vous partirai, et mes maïsmes perdrai. Quand la dame l'a entendu, ne l'en a un gap tenu. Sous 20 fêtes lui demanda, tant la blondie et lozingea, que s'aventure lui coûta, nulle chose ne lui cela. Okay. So, so she asks what's going on. And he's like, go ahead and ask. And I'll tell you anything you ask me because I love you so much and you're my lady. And we see that she's like scared. And he says, actually, I can't tell you this one. But she kind of is like caressing him, and then he does actually tell her, which he's about to do. So let's read the revelation here. He reveals what's going on. It's like, I actually can't tell you this one. She's like, well, you should. And so he does. All right. Dame. Let's actually see where this goes to. Let's go to, I might need to zoom out a bit, maybe. I'll try to go to the end of this chunk here. So yeah, he straight up tells her, Dame, je deviens bisclavret, et cela grande furette me met, à plusieurs pets de la godine, si vif de près de ravine. Quand il l'y avait tout compté, esquisse, I'm struggling to read that. Enquisse l'y avait demandé, s'il se dépouille ou vint vertu, Dame, fait-il, je vis tous nus. Dis-moi, pour Dieu, où sont vos draps? Dame, tu ne dirai, je passe. Car si je eusse perdu, et de tu fausse aperceus. That's a tough hiatus there. Aperceus. Bisclavret sareia tous jours. Jamais n'avreia mes secours. De si qu'il me fussent rendis, pour tu ne voulais qu'il s'y. All right. And then she responds, Sire, la dame lui répond, je vous aime plus que tous le monde. N'elle me devait nient salaire, ne m'aide de nul rien douter, ne semblerait pas amitié, qu'aille je forfait, pour qu'elle pécheth. Me doutez-vous de nul rien. Dites-le-moi, si ferez bien. she asks where he puts his clothes because he turns into a wolf, and so she's like, what happens to your clothes? And he says, I go naked because if I lose my clothes, I'll be a bisclavret forever, and so I don't want to rip my clothes open when I turn into a wolf. And she's like, stop hiding things from me. I'll love you no matter what. Why were you afraid to tell me? She feels kind of like, what did I do wrong for you to try to hide this from me? And honestly, I'm like, I mean, this is a kind of scary thing. It kind of makes sense that he would want to hide it, but maybe, I mean, given how much they are supposed to be loving each other, maybe he should have told her. But she's like, it's fine. Like, I love you anyway. She says, but let's see what happens. We're gonna get the full reaction in a moment. But for now, she's like, why are you hiding things from me? You don't need to do that. We'll see if that's true. Tant languissa, tant le susprit, ne pose elle, faire si l'idée. Dame, fait-il, de l'exlvi, let's le chamin, par honte jouvis. Une vieille chapelle que maintes fêtes grand bien me fait. Life la pierre cruose elle sous un buisson de dents caveia. Medrazi sous le buisson tant que jura vient à maison. So he tells her where he puts his clothes when he turns into a wolf. So let's get her full reaction, live lady reaction about to happen as he explains his wolf transformation. So let's see where we're gonna go to before I pause. This is a long one. I can do it. I think I can do it. Okay. La dame, oui, c'est la merveille. Depuis fut toute vermeille. De l'aventure s'effraie. Et m'entendrait ça pour penser. Comme elle s'en puis partir. Nous voulons mais let's lui gizir. Un chevalier de la contrée qui longement l'avait amée et mont priède mont requise et mont donnait et son service. Elle ne l'avait qu'amait, ne de s'amour, assurant. Sorry, everything's getting nasally because I'm a bit sick. But they're nasal, contrastive nasal vowels, and I don't want to mix those up. Assurant. Celui manda par son message. S'il découvrit son courage. Okay, so she's like already looking at someone else. She says, I love you, why are you hiding these things from me? And then she's immediately thinking about how she can get out of this situation, get away from her werewolf husband, kind of a hater here. And so she's like, oh, well, there's this handsome knight. She never sent him through a message and revealed to him her heart. Or no, she did say she had never loved him before, but she sent a message. What is her message? Let's read that. So I did stop halfway. Also, it looks like I have a some kind of ad going on in my my stream chat. So I'm gonna handle that if I can. Goodbye. Sorry, someone's trying to sell me like a bot thing in the chat. Well, that did confirm that my chat worked, so that's good. Okay. What does her message say to this handsome knight who isn't her husband? It says, Amis, fait-elle, seid laids, tu donc vous êtes travaillettes, vous autres, jouissance, nous le répète. Sorry, I keep nasalizing these vowels because I'm sick. Jani avrets, nous contredit. M'amourez mon cours, vous autres, votre drie, faites de mai. Alright, so she's like, come rescue me. Basically, like, be my lover instead because I don't like my werewolf husband. Again, a bit of a hater, and I think we're supposed to not be approving of her. Like, from like the standpoint of the Middle Ages, sort of moral idea of like, you're not supposed to abandon your husband, even if he turns into a werewolf. There's sort of like this expectation of no matter how awful your husband is, you gotta stay with him, which is, like in the real life, it had pretty awful implications, and it was, it just kind of sucks. It just kind of traps people in unhealthy and unhappy marriages. But in the context of the story, we are supposed to not like her because she's abandoning her husband, who is having a difficulty where he turns into a werewolf. So that much is like kind of typical morality for this time period. Like, we're supposed to hate her. She's sleeping with, or she's like trying to sleep with someone else, and be with someone else and abandon her husband. But from the werewolf point of view, within the story, Watsonian, kind of rude, kind of a hater move, not appreciating her werewolf husband. So we'll see what happens. So she's like, make me your lover. S'il l'immercia bonament, elle la fiance de l'ipprint. Elle la met par serment, puis li compta confaitement. Ce sera là et qu'il devint toute la veille qu'il tint. Vers la forêt li enseigna pour sa dépouille l'enveilla. All right. So she's supposed to be about him turning into a wolf. And she has the knight go get the clothes because she knows where the clothes are now, so that her husband can stay a werewolf, stay a wolf, and she can just run off with this guy. So again, we're kind of told very explicitly now, ici fut bisclavret trahit, et par sa femme mal bailit. He was treated awfully by his wife. We're supposed to be mad at her. And if I were a werewolf, I would also be mad at her. Because that's my wife. If I had a wife, I would be mad at her if she abandoned me for turning into a werewolf. I mean, I feel like I'd be maybe a bit more understanding. Like, I would understand. Suddenly, you have Like, it's a lot to deal with. I think I would be understanding. But if she, without a word, just kind of abandoned me, ran off with someone else, that would suck. Communication would be better here. She manipulated him by having him tell her where the clothes are, and now she's turned him into a wolf for good, at least as far as we can tell. So, Pourçu cum la perdeit souvent, qui douent tous communalment, que donc s'infut-elle tous alets, azet fut qui est demandet, mais ne pourreth, m'y trouver, si l'auretuith laisser echter. La dame altis donc épuisa, que longement avait amea. So, while he's off turned into a wolf, she marries this other knight. Alright, so now we have a king, not a baron, a king, different character, who goes hunting. Okay. So, I'm going to drink some water. Ici ramith un an entier, tant que l'irait à la chasser, à la forêt à la toute dreit, là où les bisclavret echteth. Quand les chiens furent décupleth. La bisclavret und encontreth. À lui coururent tout à jour, et les chiens li veneur. There we go. Tant que pourpuis ne Laurent pris, et tout detsireth et momis. Actually, that should be detsireth et momis. De si qu'il a l'oreille choisie, vers lui courith, kera merci. So, sorry, the English and the French are getting like quite a bit like unaligned here. I think I need to zoom out one. That's a little better. So, like a whole year goes by and a king goes hunting and he encounters the bisclavret. He encounters the werewolf, the wolf man, and his dogs start attacking. But he starts begging for the king's mercy. So what does he do? Let's see. What does he do? Il avait pris par son étrier la jambe li baise et la pied. Li reis la vif grand pour ad. Se compagnons tout s'appelave. Seigneurs, fait-il, avant venez, cette merveille gardet. Con cette bête s'humilia. Elle a saint-dume merci crie. Chatset me toutes se chiens arera. Si gardets comme ne la fiera. Cette bête intense et saint. Appelez-tets vous. Allons nous en. À la bête du rail ma pèse, car Dieu ne chasserai lui mes. Okay, so bisclavret, the wolf in wolf form, comes and kisses the king's leg and his foot, and he's like, I'll be the best boy. I'll be your best puppy, basically. He goes all puppy mode. And the king's like, whoa, this beast has an intelligent mind. It's begging for mercy. Get rid of these dogs and don't let them hit him. And I'm going to take this puppy home. Basically, I'm done hunting for the day. I'm going to protect this wolf. It's going to be mine now. This is an interesting piece of artwork. But basically, this is sort of the scene. Not quite. They made the wolf look very interesting. Very big too. But the idea is he's begging for mercy, and the king's like, whoa, you're smart. I'm going to take you home. Let's see what life's like when he takes him home. Let's see. Oops. Life at the king's castle. So he's the king's pet now. L'irei seneth tourneth atan. La bisclavret liveth soaf. Mutsa tinth pres. Nevos partir. Enough cura de lui gerpir. L'ireis le mene son chartel. Muthain fuliets muth liet bel. Car unque meh tel nuth veu. A grand merveilla luth tenu. Et muth la tienta grand certeth. A toutes les soins ad commandeth. Que sur sa mour la gardeth bien. Et li meh fatseth de rien. Ne par nul deuil ne saith ferits. Bien saith a bevrates et peruts. Let's scroll down a bit. S'il le gardereth volontaires, tous jours entre les chevalers, et près del rey salut coucher. Ni ad celui que ne l'a cher, tant était franc à debonaire, uncas ne vult à rien me faire, ou que l'ireis deuth errer, il n'oth cura de désœuvrer. Ensemble lui tous jours salut, bien sa part safe qu'il la move. So they take care of him. They don't mistreat him. He basically gets the star treatment at this king's castle. He takes him everywhere with him whenever he travels. And it's clear that the king loved him. The king loves this wolf. It's really sweet. Life at the king's castle is great, but there's some strange doings at the court. The king summons all of the barons. This is going to get interesting. Okay. Ouets aprets comment avint a une course que l'irai tint. Tous les barons avaient mandats. Ceux que furent de lui chasets. Pour aider sa fête à tenir. À lui plus belle faire servir. Les chevalers et estalets. Richement et bien attournets. Qui la femme bisclavret ut. So the wife of Bisclavret, that knight that she married, is now one of the barons. He kind of took over the baronship of Bisclavret here. So He's gonna be here. That's gonna be interesting. Il ne savait ne qui douce qu'il la daus trouver si presse, si tous comme il vint al palais, et la bisclavret la partseus. He had no clue that the bisclavret would be there. But as soon as he got there, bisclavret sees him. De plein ehleis vers lui courut. He runs straight towards him. Ahdens le prich vers lui le traith. Jali auth mus grand leith faith. Ne fut li reis qui l'appela. D'une verge la manatsa. Deus fates la voth mourdre al jour. Muth ses merveillent li plusieurs. Plusieurs, I think is what that should be. Plusieurs. Car unque tel semblant ne fith, vers nul humain qu'il vaith. Zu dienth tooth par la maison, qu'il ne fait mais sans raison. Yeah. Me faith liad cumet que saith car volenter sa vengereth. At cela feit remithi si, tant que la fête de partie, eli baron ou pris congeth, can't get that right, congeth. Allur maison sunt repareth. Alet senet li chevaliers, menech quieth tous a premiers. Que la bisclavret azali neth merveille s'il le haï. Yeah. So the Baron comes and he's just gnawing away at him. But because he has such like a high place in this court, the people of the household just kind of assume like, he must have some reason to hate this guy. Like they're kind of siding with the wolf here. So he just kind of keeps trying to bite him until he leaves. Yeah. Necht merveille s'il le haït. Definitely not. It's not a surprise. All right. Let's see what happens then. And we get another little cut in from the narrator Marie here, or maybe Marie is adapting a narrator that already did this in the original Breton. I do believe I understand. Yeah. Let's see what happens next. An angry wolf and a wise man. Ne fut puis guerres longement. Tu m'étais si congété. Que la fureta la lireis, que tant fut sages et courtes, ali bisclavret fut trouvet. Et il y est où lui allait. La nuit quand il s'en repéra, et la contraia herberga. Or herberga. Sometimes they don't mark the palatalization here, but it might be herberga. Or herberga. La femme bisclavret la soupe, avenant sa pareille. Ça paraît luth. Non é isso. Al demain vaith al rei parler. Riche present li faith pour terre. Quand bisclavret la veith venir, nur nel pueth retenir. Vers li curith cum era jets. Uyez cum il et bien 20 jets. Le neis li ehracha delvis. Que li pauth il faire peace. Okay. So, I don't know quite what the wife was going for with trying to speak to the king. Maybe she was trying to, maybe the night, I'm guessing the baron came back and told her that the wolf was there. And now she wants to kind of like go and out him to the king, I guess. I'm not quite sure what her plan was, but it backfired because bisclavret sees her. He's like, you ruined my life and you were awful and I hate you. And so he bites off her nose. Yeah. No more nose for my wife. It's hard, given like what medieval literature likes to do, not to sort of see like an almost like sort of parable or like a, what's the word I'm looking for? Like there's some kind of irony here with her nose getting bitten off. Like perhaps one of the motivations for her to not want to sleep with her husband or like be with her husband, who turns into a wolf, is maybe like something about the fact that he smells like a wolf. And so maybe the nose is like punishment of like the shallowness of her, I don't know, smell. Like it doesn't matter if he smells, you should stay with him. Again, that sort of like you need to be with your husband even if he sucks kind of thing that I was talking about before. Biting her nose is sort of like you thought I was too smelly to be with, well, now you don't get a nose. Kind of gruesome here. That's sort of the idea here. All right. Let's see what happens next. I need to catch my breath here. De toutes parts lunth manatieth, ja lauseth, tooth depetieth, quand ou sages, dith al rei, sire, fait-il, intentha mei, sehte bet af ehteth udvus, niadura celui de nous. Que ne l'aith vu longement, et près de lui à l'aith souvent, que mes ne toucha, ne felunia ne muhtra. Forza la dame qui s'y fait, parcelle fait que Dieu vous dé. Aucun curit avil vers li, vers son Seigneur autrezi. Souhaite la femme al chevalier. Que tant par soliets aver chier. Calunc tenzad ehteth perdits. Na saumis Caintu or Caint Ket. Why can I not read today? Ket devenuts. There we go. I'm gonna scroll down a bit. Carmetets la dame en détresse. S'aucune chose vous dirai. Pour Kate sehte behte la heit, fetus li dira, celle la seith. Mainte merveille vont veu, que en Bretagne avenue. Getting the meter right when there's the hiatus there is a little tricky. That's what the two dots over the vowels mean, by the way. It's you're supposed to make hiatus where you otherwise would not. So I'm supposed to pronounce the and k, which usually you do not when there's a vowel after it, but this time I am. Okay. So, this was like off the page for a little bit, so I'll put it here a little bit if you want to catch up in your reading here, if you're reading along with the English. There was a wise man who shows up, and he kind of explains what's going on to the king. Thanks, dude. He's like, this wolf that you've had here, he's actually a good guy. He's the only bad thing he's ever done is like, bite this lady's nose off, but kind of justified. It's according to this guy. He's the knight that disappeared and got replaced by some other knight. I suggest you torture her. I don't like that, but it is gonna happen, unfortunately. I'm sorry. We're gonna get a like oblique reference to her being tortured. It just says she was tortured, so there's no gruesome detail, thankfully. But he's like, you should interrogate her to see what she knows. So that's what we're about to get. Investigations. Here. L'irais ad son conseil créu. So he believed in his advice. Le chevalier ad retenu. De l'autre part la dame ad prisa. Et un moutgrant détresse mise. Tant par détresse et par pour tous les compta de son seigneur. Comment elle l'avait trahi et ça depuis l'étoile. La venutre qui lui compta et qui devint et voilà. Puisque c'est dras li ou toulut, ne fût sous pays vaut. Très bien qui dath et bien créé, que la bête bisclavret saith. So, he locks up the knight, he tortures the lady, and she reveals all. She betrays him, she takes the clothes, the turning into a wolf, and where he went, and kind of all comes together. She's like, that's definitely him. I'm like pretty sure. It's him. There's not going to be a plot twist where it's not actually him. What does the king do as a result? Le reis demande la dépouille ou belli seithu pas nel viglia. Arrière la fête à pourter, al bisclavret la fille d'honneur. Quand il luret devant lui mise, ne se prit garde et nulle guise. Li prudent le réappela, s'il qui primes le conseilla. Sire, ne faites mie bien, si nel fereith pour nul rien. Que devant vous ces draps revêtent, ne mousse le semblance de bête, ne savez mieux que sumute. S'il devient un bien le verus. Struggling with the vowels here today with my sore throat. L'iris meismes le mena, et toutes les us sur lui ferma. All right. So the king's like, go fetch the clothes, and he has it brought back to bisclavret. And they put the clothes in front of bisclavret, but he doesn't seem interested. And the wise man's like, you need to give him alone time with the clothes. Because he's ashamed, right? He let him do it by himself. He's ashamed of the transformation that he's gonna have to do. And we'll see if he turns to a man. It's gonna be obvious if he does that this is the guy we're looking for. So they leave the clothes with bisclavret, close the door, leave him on his own to do his transformation, give him some privacy. Pretty nice. I love that. All right, happy question mark ending. Well, we'll see. I think it's a happy ending. Let's see what happens here. Al chef de pièces yesterlore, de ut barunzat ut lui manets. En la chambre entre toutes tres, sur le domaine lethal rey, trouvant, can I say this right? Trouvant Drummond le chevalier. There we go. L'iris le courut embrassière. Plus de sainte faites la coule et baisa. Si tout cum il put averaisa. Toute se terre li rendit. Plus li donna que Juna dit. La femme avait del pays urter et châtia de la contraire. S'il s'enalat ensemble li. Enfants enad azets oits. Wait, no, I skipped the line. Pour qui son seigneur ont trahi. Enfants enad azets oits. Let's scroll down. Puisant ehteth bien qu'unots. Et del semblante et del visage, plusieurs des femmes del lignage. Cette vérité sont nées, et si vivent esnazées. La venitre qu'avec ouille, veraille fut née doutets mie. De bisclavret fut fait l'ilais pour remembrance à tout dit mais. Okay. So the woman gets chased away, and the knight gets chased away with her, and they have many children, all of whom have women, or many women of which do not have noses. And yeah, we end with like, this is true story, based on true story. I don't know how true that is. I doubt that it's entirely based on true story. Maybe something similar to this happened, but sans the werewolf. Maybe the werewolf did happen, who knows. But this sort of moral, I guess, that we can get, again, with the noselessness, seems really on the nose with the sort of lesson here of like, she was selfish and did not stick by her lord, even though he was going through an awful transformation into a wolf. And so, like, that's sort of the real world moral of, like, stick with your husband no matter what kind of thing. So that's that message. But I do like the ending for the wolf and the king. So he turns back into a human. And he's like, hey, my wolf is a dude. It is a person, and not just a wolf. And he comes in and he kisses him and hugs him. And he's like, hey, it's you, but in human form. And he gives him back his land. And then it says, plus li donna que je ne dis. He gave him more than I'm telling you. I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means. No one is completely sure what that means. There are ideas that people have, but it's a debate ongoing in scholarship of this poem. But it is interesting. I like the ending. I think it's sweet. He finds a wolf. From his point of view, it's just a really smart wolf who he has as basically his like companion, and then he finds out in a horrible way, by that wolf biting some woman's nose off, that was actually, he was actually like betrayed by his wife, and he was a person, and he turns into a wolf, so he needs his clothes back. And so he gives him his clothes back, turns back into a person. They find him sleeping, and he comes in and he's like, yay, it's you, and hugs and kisses him, and it's really sweet. I love it. I think it's very cute. I think, like, Doylean, this story is supposed to be a morality tale about, or I think partially at least, it's a morality tale about, you know, not being a adulterous wife, even if your husband sucks, and turns into a wolf, or the metaphorical equivalent of turning into a wolf. And that's a whole thing that existed in the Middle Ages, and still exists just in some capacity today. But Watsonian, I think the king is better for bisclavret than the lady was, because she just abandoned him, and the king's sticking by him even though he knows he's a wolf. He comes in, he's like, yeah, it's you. He has no problem. He's super cool with the whole wolf thing, and I think that's great, and I love that. For bisclavret, I think he gets a happy ending, even if the wife does not. She kind of gets her comeuppance, I guess, in the story, and we don't have to love that. But I think the werewolf angle with the king is nice. So that was bisclavret. There are notes that on like some of the aspects of like where you see brackets that sort of like something's been inserted. There are different like manuscript versions and like variations and sort of substitutions of like, we think there should be something here, or there was a smudge here in the manuscript, that kind of thing. We've talked about that sort of thing before when reading medieval stuff, and ancient stuff. So if you're interested in all like the nitty gritty of that, you know, Mad Repo has all the notes here for you. But yeah, I hope this was fun. Happy Halloween, or whatever equivalent you celebrate during this season, or not. Have a great end of October. I thought reading a werewolf poem would be fun for this end of October. And next week we will be continuing with my analog conlang series, analog conlanging, where I'm making conlangs in my journal with pen and paper. And that's it. And brain, I guess, pen, paper, and brain are the only tools we're using here, at least for this first a priori language. I'm actually really struggling not to work on that language outside. I really want to work on it more, but I'm trying to keep it for the stream. So tune into that next week. We might actually extend the time. I went way over time last time, and I feel like the same is going to happen, so I might extend it to a 2-hour stream instead of just a 1 hour, accidentally 1.5 hour stream. It'll be a purposeful 2-hour stream. We'll see, but that will be next week, and then the recording will be uploaded to YouTube. Thank you for coming to this Old French werewolf poem. I hope to see you next week, and I hope you have a great rest of whatever time zone you're in. Thank you, and farewell.